My family forged a will to steal my grandpa's farm, so I exposed their crimes and took the bank. The will hits the table, and my gut does a backflip. Grandpa's signature sits at the bottom, except the loop on the G is wrong and the pressure line is flat. Around me, my family is already calling dibs on furniture like it's a garage sale. I say, that signature's off. The room freezes. Aunt Lorna smirks. You wouldn't understand legal stuff. I snap a photo of Grandpa's real signature from my wallet. Quiet, petty insurance. I'm going to prove the forgery, expose whoever helped, and flip their bank on them. I stand up mid-reading and leave. 3 hours earlier, I expected simple. Setup, family, farm, fault lines. 3 hours earlier, I was parked on the gravel drive counting crows and trying not to count grudges. Grandpa's farm looked exactly like it should. The windmill clinking, the red barn losing paint the way men lose hair, and the kitchen window with a smudge I never could scrub out. This place raised me as much as my parents did, and honestly, the farm was better at it. I learned to measure with my hands, read weather off a tree line, and negotiate with stubborn creatures that outstubborn me by several hundred pounds. Also known as cows. Also known as Meng. Also known as Meng Sons. Also known as Meng. And it's also known as Meng Smeng. Also known as Meng. Ahead Smeng. Also known as Meng. He believed in 3 things. Keep your word, keep your books, and keep a spare belt because something will break when stores are closed. When I was 12, he handed me the ledger and said, "Numbers don't lie, people do." I thought it was harsh. Then I turned 15 and met my Aunt Lorna. Here's the lineup. Aunt Lorna, control freak who labels the label maker. She schedules feelings. Uncle Pete, if a credit limit exists, he's probably applied for Clyde for Wormler's Tweewoo. Loud spender, louder opinions. Lean on follow through. Cousin, Maya, professionally nice until the knife, all pastel sweaters and soft voice while she texts the group chat called Let's Be Real About My Haircut. Me? Quiet spreadsheet goblin, his words, not mine, trained by Grandpa to reconcile a feed bill by sight. We'd all been orbiting the farm for months, pretending to be helpful satellites. The unspoken war was who visited Grandpa and who posted on the posted at Grandpa and who posted at Grandpa and who posted a boom. Twice. Posted at Grandpa and who posted a word. Posted a stillorate. Posted a juice. Mine. Posted you. Some of us sat with him at 2 a.m. while he dozed and the oxygen machine hummed like a cranky old cat. Some of us took selfies on the porch, angle corrected, filter attached, caption, family first. Every casserole had a price tag you couldn't see. In his last month, Grandpa was still himself, just smaller around the edges. He joked about swapping the corn for sunflowers so the neighbors would have a view. He circled things in a paper with the augers. Circled things in the paper with the auger with the congress. Yeah, say things in the paper with a. He said that twice, like he knew someone would try. So when I got the text, Will reading today, my first thought was why here, why now, and who invited a lawyer I'd never met. Walking up the porch steps, I could feel the script already written. Lorna at the head of the table, Pete pawing the snack tray like there's a prize at the bottom, Maya whispering, "Love your shoes," through teeth that say something else. A stranger at the end, briefcase, papers, a smy at the end, briefcase, papers, a smy, theories, briefcase, papers, a smy. He's Grandpa's lawyer. The stranger, Kay Bell, says, "I'm handling probate now, very standard." Lorna pats my arm like I'm a customer service problem. "Adult talk, honey? We've got it." Adult talk? Great. I stepped back, took out my phone, and did what I do. Notes, dates, names, the kind of details people assume you'll forget because you were quiet. The kitchen smelled like brew coffee and fresh toner. That last part rattled me. Grandpa's files live in a cabinet older than me and smell like dust and motor oil. These papers smelled like they'd been born an hour ago. We made small talk on top of big tension. Pete bragged about optimizing the equipment layout and casually mentioned a buyer for the old combine, which is weird because you don't sell the heart of a farm before probate unless you're planning to ignore probate. He also let slip a line about a lender breathing down my probate. He also let slip a line about a lender breathing down my royo. Lorna mentioned tight quarters and refinancing like those were hobbies. Desperation wears perfume, but it still smells like smoke. Maya asked about how I was coping, which is code for have you figured out what you'll accept to go away. I told her I'm coping with spreadsheets. She giggled like that was a joke. Grandpa's last month kept nudging me. He had those tremors that turned his handwriting into a river, yes, but his head was clear. He told me where the spare extension cords were hidden and which neighbor to call if the north fence snapped. He did not, under any universe, jam through a brand new will with a stranger while I was out buying him peaches. He hated peaches. He just liked sending me to the farmer's market so I'd practice haggling with humans. I glanced at the safe in the back hall, the one that's stuck on humid days. Grandpa's ledger lived there, along with a stack of old birthday cards and a photo of my grandma balancing on a hay bale like a ballerina in boots. I kept another photo in my wallet. Grandpa's signature from a land deed, strong as a fence post, that big loop on the G that looked like a fishhook snagging forever. I didn't carry it for all. Ron didn't carry it for all he surrounded me. I carried it because family is a team sport until money enters the room. Kay Bell cleared her throat and shuffled papers. Before she even started, Lorna shot me a look that said behave. I must have looked like I was wearing a sign, caution, will notice things. I said nothing, but my stomach was bracing for impact. I asked again, where's Mr. Dwyer? Lorna said he's old-fashioned. We needed someone quicker. That sounded like we needed someone playaba. 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 There's this thing that happens before a storm. The leaves turn their pale undersides like they're showing's hands. The farm did that outside the window. Quiet wrongness. Inside, Pete drummed fingers on the table. Maya fussed with a candle that nobody lit. I took out a pen. Grandpa's pen, actually. It has a brown stain on the cap from when he used it to fix a leak and decided the pen could be both a pen and a plumber. He'd call that efficiency. I call it that efficiency. I call it My job in this family has always been to be the boring one. Boring people win at paperwork. You can talk over me, but you cannot talk over bank statements. That's the headspace I walked in with. Say goodbye, sign papers, go home, keep the farm running with whoever inherited it. I didn't need the land. I needed it not to be chopped up and flipped for a quick payday and an Instagram caption about new beginnings. I needed the soil to stay where it be the soil to stay where it be the soil to stay where it be denuded. I needed the soil to stay where it be Julia. I needed the soil to stay where it be Zuri. People get weird around grief. They cling to control like it's a life raft. But grief doesn't usually arrive with a freshly printed document and a lawyer nobody recognizes. That's not grief. That's ambition with mascara. As Kay Bell set out the pages, I thought of Grandpa's phrase again, numbers don't lie. Signatures tell stories, too. He taught me that signing your name is a promise you could be proud of if someone read it out loud in a church. He'd lie loud in a church. He'd lie proud of if someone read it out loud in a church. He'd lie. Let it say they wonder it's life for you why is slimy with loud. So when the reading began, I leaned in. I listened for the land to be safe and the people to be decent. I was prepared to swallow a loss if it felt honest. Honest ignorance I can forgive. Calculated fraud? That's when I get loud. The first page turned. The smell of toner was stronger, and something in me shifted from sad to alert. I didn't know it yet, but the next half hour would shove me from the quiet kid with a pen to the family's worst nightmare, the one who knows where the receipts are and what to do with them. The will reading, something's rotten. Kay Bell clears her throat like she's about to auction off my patience. Per the most recent testament, the farm transfers to Lorna Matthews and Peter Cross. Personal effects distributed at their discretion. She glances discretion. She glances. She says it like a consolation prize at a carnival. My ears ring. Sentimental items. I can feel Grandpa's ledger laughing from down the hall. I ask to see the signature page. Lorna gives me a look that says, "Don't make a scene." I reach anyway. The page lands in my hands. There it is, Gerald P. Rowan. The loop on the G is timid, like it's afraid of heights. Grandpa's loop jumped the fence. This one never left the porch. My thumb traces the breccia. My thumb traces the breccia. My thumb traces the breccia. The breccia. My thumb traces the breccia. He always bit into the downstroke like he meant it. The 7 in July 14th isn't crossed. He crossed his 7s after a banker once turned a 7 into a 1 and overdrafted a feed bill. He ranted about it for a decade. He would have crossed that 7 if his hand was in a sling. "Looks fine to me," Pete says, chewing a grape like it insulted him. Maya leans forward, voice honeyed. "We all want what Grandpa wanted." I say, "Cool. We all want what Grandpa wanted." I say, "Cool." Kay Bell reads names. James Smith, Rachel Lee. I blink. Those are names you give when you don't want anyone to find them on Facebook. "Where are they from?" I ask. "Out of town," Bell says. "We use neutral witnesses." I smile, small and sharp, neutral like a ghost. I ask for copies. She hesitates. "These are official court documents." I hold out my phone. "So is email." Lorna sighs. "Don't be difficult." I keep my palm up, Soleil's. "Don't be difficult." I keep my palm up, Soleil's. I keep my palm up, Soleil's. I spell my address slowly, like a bedtime story. The date scratches at me. It's marked 3 weeks after Grandpa's tremors spiked so hard he couldn't butter toast without turning it into confetti. "He was clear-headed," Lorna says, reading my face. "He told us he wanted stability." The word stability does a lot of work when what you mean is control. I ask, "Where? Was he when he signed?" Belle answers too fast. "Here. Kitchen table." I stare at the table. If that table could talk, it would swear. I pull my wallet and slide out the photo, Grandpa's signature from the land deed. I don't hold it up like a dramatic reveal. I keep it in my lap and take one quick snap of the will signature. Insurance. Petty, yes. Effective, also yes. "Can I get a hard copy?" I ask. "No," Belle says. "We prefer D. I ask. "No," Belle says. "We prefer We prefer Ding, Weaver says. "Digital doesn't stain your fingers." The room's tension hums. Pete taps the table again, faster. Lorna laces her fingers like a CEO about to fire me from Thanksgiving. "Listen," she says, "you wouldn't understand legal stuff." I nod. True. But I understand handwriting. They think my spreadsheets are a hobby. They're about to learn they're a weapon. Maya's smile thins. This is making everyone uncomfortable. I say, "Fraud tends to 2. Fraud tends to 2. Fraud tends to 2. Fraud tends to 2. Fraud tends to 2. Saramju. Fraud tends to 2. Then. Durandur. Tends to tie. Fraud tends to 2. Bra." Lorna pushes her chair back. "We can settle this like adults. I'll offer you cash to withdraw your challenges. Enough to be comfortable." "Put it in writing," I say. She hesitates. Her smile cracks. "No need to formalize between family." "Then it isn't real," I say. "Email me the terms, include the source of funds, and the disclosure that you used to shell LLC to siphon." Pete's fork clatters. Maya whispers, "Don't say siphon." Aye, whispers, "Don't say siphon." Aye, whispers, "Don't say siphon." I. Lorna pushes her chair back. We can settle this like adults. I'll offer you cash to withdraw your challenges. Enough to be comfortable. Put it in writing, I say. She hesitates. Her smile cracks. No need to formalize between family. Numbers then, I say. What's comfortable? She smooths her napkin. 50,000. It's an insult you could measure with a teaspoon. Then it isn't real, I say. Email me the terms, include the source of funds, and the disclosure that you used a shell LLC to siphon. Pete's fork clatters. Maya whispers, don't say siphon. I raise my glass. Siphon. Belle tries to move on. Distribution of personal items, I cut in. I'm setting an appointment with a document examiner. Pete snorts. What is that? CSI clipboard? I keep my tone flat. It's someone who gets paid to say what a will. It's someone who gets paid to say what te. We should grieve, not litigate. I say, then stop giving the judge reasons to meet us. Belle's eyes harden. You're implying serious allegations. I shrug. I'm implying math. She presses her lips. We can proceed without your consent. I stand. You can try. My chair legs screech. Grandpa would hate that sound. I let it scrape anyway. On my way out, I pass the hall where the safe sticks. I feel the tug to go open it and pull out every proof. Chain of custody matters when the other side loves gray areas. I grab my coat. Pete mutters, drama. I turn. You sold a combine before probate. He freezes, just looking at options. You'll be looking at subpoenas. His jaw works like it lost the instructions. Maya trails me to the porch. We're family, she whispers, soft as tissue. We can work it out. I say, then stop working it over. She drops the soft. You always soft. You always soft, soft. You always thought. You always thought, soft. You always thought, always thought. I tilt my head. No, I think I'm safer because I check them. I step into the heat. The cicadas sound like frying pans. The email pings on my phone, PDF attached. I forward it to a burner account, then to the examiner I've used once for a farm lease dispute that turned out to be a cousin's math problem. Subject line, rush please. Body, suspected forged signature. He tells, loop height, downstroke pressure, crossed sevens, date relit downstroke pressure, crossed sevens, date relit pressure, crossed sevens, date relit visuals, date relit downstroke pressure, crossed sevens, date relit rems, relits. Also ask about printer artifacts. Before I can hit send, the door opens. Lorna stands there, framed like a portrait you avoid. You're hurting people who loved him, she says. I pocket the phone. So did whoever typed his name and hoped it passed. She steps closer. He told me he wanted me to have the farm. He needed someone decisive. He had someone, I say. He had himself. She blinks. You don't understand leadership. She tries a different angle. You were busy. I nod. I was here nights. I have the hospital bracelets he counted like poker chips. Her mouth twists. Fine. Run your little audit. I smile. Glad you approve. Back inside, Belle restarts. Moving on. I've already moved. I text Nora, Grandpa's old teller, ask if she's working today. She replies, off? Why? I type, need to ask about forms someone pushed. She types, come by the back and need to ask about forms someone pushed. She types, come by the back as, away Mac. I send a thumbs up emoji I don't mean. I head to the kitchen doorway. One more thing, I say. Who printed this? Belle stares. Our office. Which office? Downtown. Which printer? Pete groans. For the love of... I hold his gaze until he looks at his plate. Belle says it's irrelevant. Not to an examiner, I say. Printers leave tracks, like tires. Sometimes the tracks lead to a garage you didn't think we knew about. Maya's tone goes faux bright. We should focus on healing. Healing's easier when the infection's out, I say. Lorna folds the will. This is over. No, I say, heading for the door. This is documented. On the porch, I breathe. The smell of cut hay and diesel hangs in the heat. Grandpa used to say, smell tells you what broke before you see it. Toner told me what broke today. Not the family. We were cracked long before. The lie, we were cracked long before. The lie, we were cracked long before. I send the email to the examiner. Phone buzzes immediately. Auto reply, booked solid, emergency slots available at triple rate. I reply, triple me. Attached deed signature, birthday card scan, last land tax receipt. I label them pre-tremor, post-diagnosis baseline, known exemplar. Then I add a note. Check witness names, no local records. Also check metadata if available. As I cross the yard, Uncle Pete's truck door slams. You think you're better than us, he calls. I turn slow. No, I think you're loud. He strides closer, beer breath at noon. You always were Grandpa's pet. He liked quiet people who got things done. Pete smirks. We're getting things done. Yeah, I say. Crimes. He flinches at that word like it bit him. Careful, he says. Defamation's a thing. I grin. So are subpoenas. He opens and closes his mouth. A fish auditioning for fee, saw auditioning fee, Morse auditioning fee, morning. I leap into a silent monologue and slide into my car. The engine coughs, then catches. I think of Grandpa's hands on this wheel, tapping rhythm while we counted silo rungs like they were prayers. I whisper, numbers don't lie. Then I add, signatures don't either. My inbox stings again. Examiner slots me for tomorrow morning, 8:30, bring originals or best scans. I reply, on it. As I hit the road, I glance in the rearview. Lorna stands on the porch, phone at her ear, face set to controlling the narrative. Maya texts with her head bowed, thumbs frantic. Pete lights another cigarette. He promised he quit. The will sits somewhere inside, cooling like a pie baked with salt instead of sugar. From a distance, it looks fine. Up close, it ruins your mouth. I drive toward Burns' Diner with one promise to myself. I'll be boring, relentless, and factual. They wanted they wanted they wanted see. They're about to get sentiments, meaner sibling, evidence. First try, proving the forgery. Burns' Diner still smells like coffee and fryer oil, which is to say like honesty. Nora slides into the booth with a sigh that says she's seen worse and expects worse anyway. She was Grandpa's favorite teller because she never tried to upsell him a credit card. You look like trouble, she says. You look like coffee, I answer. We're both right. I show her the will PDF on my phone, then the photo of Grandpa's deed signa, then the photo of Grandpa's deed signa B. 7 isn't crossed. Dated post-tremor spike. She squints at the screen like it owes her money. Smells like a rush job, she says. Who handled it? I list the names. K-Bell running probate, Lorna quarterbacking feelings, Pete playing forklift with boundaries. Nora's eyebrow goes north at Bell. She used to do compliance at our branch. Noted, underlined, highlighted. The examiner texts bring clean scans, best originals, take 3. I answer, I'll bring the moon if it helps. He sends a thumbs up. Professional romance. Chain of custody kicks in my brain like a tractor in low gear. If I want a signature expert to swear in court, I can't have a pile of mysteries. I need to know where the will lived before it landed on our kitchen table. Do you know where they'd store something like this? I ask Nora. She snorts. With Belle? Wherever keeps it close to her story. She switches to 2. Wherever keeps it close to her story. She switches to 2. Your grandpa told me not to let anyone add him to anything without you seeing it. That sentence is a matchstick. I pay for Nora's coffee because I'm not a monster, then head back to the farm. The house is quieter, the kind of quiet that knows it just lied. I slip down the back hall to the safe, wrestle the sticky handle, and breathe when it finally gives. The ledger sits on top, green cloth frayed at the corners. Grandpa's handwriting marches over the rats. Grandpa's handwriting marches over the rhymes. I'm trying. Tabs stick out like prairie flags. Taxes, seeds, repairs, and one I don't remember, bank, cornfield. I flip to it. The entries are small, tidy, and wrong. Cash withdrawals and amounts just shy of report thresholds. Memos like roof repairs, equipment tune, fuel advance, each aligned with weekends when nothing happened except Pete watching football too loud. In the margin, in Grandpa's later, shaky print. Ask Nora, not non. Shaky print, ask Nora, not non. Not non. I say out loud, you left me breadcrumbs, and the room doesn't argue. Footsteps creak on the porch. I tuck the ledger under a stack of old manuals and close the safe halfway so it looks lazy, not empty. Lorna's knock is a courtesy she doesn't mean. She steps in without waiting. Keys, she says, for the outbuildings. We're taking inventory for the estate. She says estate like it's a ship she's about to captain. I glance at her empty clip. We need them now. I need the will's chain of custody. See how that sounds? She tilts her head, bird-like, calculating whether to peck or preen. She settles on preen. Don't make this adversarial. I'm just asking where the paper slept. Her eyes flick to the safe, then back to my face. She leaves with nothing and a look that promises an agenda. I scan the ledger tabs with my phone, flattening pages with the flat of my hand, whispering sorry, read then of my hand, whispering sorry, read. I email the examiner a folder, exemplars, tax receipts, Grandpa's birthday cards, the deed signature, the ledger, subject line, chain of custody notes to follow. Then I make a list. Who touched the will, where it supposedly was when it was supposedly signed, who witnessed how it got printed. The printer question hangs in the room like a fruit bat. By 4, the family chat starts buzzing with statements disguised as questions. Maya. There's a meal to Forgery's questions. Maya. And take versions. Maya. The family chat starts buzzing with statements disguised as questions. Maya, translation. Will you roll over? Pete, we need the Kubota keys for a buyer to test. Translation. We're selling before the judge wakes up. Lorna, reminder. Probate proceeds regardless of objections. Translation. Sit down. Spreadsheet. I put all 3 into a folder labeled evidence, pressure. The examiner calls. His voice is bored in a way that makes me trust him. Initial look, not your guy. Loop on the G is open and tentative. Baseline slants inconsistent with tremor pattern. Toner distribution suggests print, not wet ink. I'll need high-res scans or originals. Originals are guarded by raccoons and pearls, I say. He chuckles like a man who's heard worse. Then bring the next best. Also, the 7, your note's right. It's uncrossed. People keep habits even when they shake. He crossed them like a grudge, I say. Exactly, he says. Tomorrow, 8-3, he says. Tomorrow, 8-3, period. Tomorrow, 8-3, McCrange. Don't let anyone touch those cards. Oils matter. I'll wear gloves and a bad attitude, I say. He approves. By 5, I'm staring at a problem. Time. The court clock runs faster when you need it slow. Lorna will file to expedite, and Belle will smile. I need leverage tonight, not a beautifully bound report next month. That means leaving the signature lane and merging into the money lane. Grandpa's voice again. Numbers don't lie. I open the ledger to bank, cornfield, and start a cross-check. Every repair memo meets a blank calendar. Every fuel advance meets a full tank I filled. Every cash withdrawal lands a day before Pete's weekend trips. It starts to hum, the way patterns do when they realize they're found. I log into Grandpa's online banking with the access he set up for me when he taught me how to pay property tax without losing your shirt or your mind. The two-factor code pops up on his old flip phone we keep charged to scroll photos. I enter it and then I'm in. Statements line up like dominoes. There's a new joint account from 3 months before he died, name I don't recognize on the second line. I read it twice. It's Lorna, but not her Maida. The memo field features a recurring note, BP Trust. The amounts are always just shy of where the bank flags you. Cute. I print to PDF, date stamped, file properties visible. I pull ATM logs, withdrawals cluster at odd hours, late night drive-ups, not grandpa style. My jaw goes hard enough to crack ice. There's also a power of attorney file scanned into the system, signed on a day when grandpa was in an MRI. I check the hospital portal. I check the hospital portal. He was literally in a tube while someone made his hand agree to things. My phone buzzes. Lorna, we're moving forward. Don't embarrass yourself. I reply with a smiley face and a period. It's the punctuation equivalent of a slap. She responds with nothing, which is the right amount. Sun dips. The fields go gold, then quiet. I call Luis, who's run this place with us for years. Did Pete take anything out lately? He sighs. Loaded the seed drill lays. Loaded the seed drill lay. Loaded the seed drill lays. 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 Woodford said Grandpa had promised him. He also took the welder, said he'd bring it back. Like he brought back my wrench set? I ask. Silence. We both know the answer. I'll write a statement, he says. I saw him. Time, date, plate number. Bless you, I say. He grunts. Bless the farm. A car slows at the end of the drive. Maya. She doesn't come up. She parks, takes a photo of the house, and drives away. My phone chimes a minute later. Maya. 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 Maya's a minute later. Photo attached, me through a window, bent over the ledger. I save it to evidence, threats, then text back, you spelled evidence wrong. She replies with a heart, because of course she does. The examiner texts again. If you can, bring printer info. PDF metadata might expose origin. I open the will PDF and look at the properties. There's a creator name buried under generic settings. The font embedding tags show a brand used in Office Taste. If I can link the serial, I can link the source. I remember Lorna's trash can and her habit of keeping receipts like trophies. Tomorrow, I'll go raccoon and pearls. Night rolls in. I line up 3 killer exhibits on the dining table like I'm plating dinner. Exhibit A, signature comparisons. Exhibit B, power of attorney mismatch with hospital timestamps. Exhibit C, bank withdrawals marked BP Trust under threshold. I add a sticky note. Ask court for preservation order, subpoena bank logs, subpoena printer metadata. I breathe. My hands shake, but not enough to smear ink. That's what matters. I text Mr. Dwyer, Grandpa's real lawyer, with a simple line. New will surfaced. Doesn't look like him. Can I come by in the morning after the examiner? He replies instantly. Doors open. Bring everything. He adds, he told me not to let anyone rush him. He adds, he told me not to let anyone rush him just. He adds, he told me not to let anyone rush him in. Subtitle, he told things like equation. Pisoloni, not animal film, Cyprian Ledaway. He adds, he told me not to let anyone. I set my alarm for too early and lock the ledger back in the safe. As I close it, the hinge squeals a complaint. I know, I tell it. Me too. Then I slide Grandpa's old pen under the ledger like a bookmark for a story that isn't finished and head to bed with a plan. Tomorrow, we trade suspicion for proof. Digging the money trail, the ledger. Morning hits like a checklist. I'm up before the rooster that forgot he retired. Gloves on, coffee, coffee, coffee. Gloves on, coffee, coffee, ollie, coffee, puff. Gloves on, coffee, gloves on, coffee, B. The ledger's bank. Cornfield tab waits like a door I already know leads to the basement. I start from the top and read slow. Grandpa's tidy notes march, then wobble, but the math still holds. The cash withdrawals form a rhythm, and not the good kind. always $7,800, $9,900, $4,950. Goldilocks numbers, big enough to matter, small enough to dodge the banks alone. Small enough to dodge the banks alone. Roof repair on a week. We had blue sky, and I was literally on that roof pulling a kite out of a vent because Pete thought it'd be fun for the kids. Fuel advance on a day the supplier closed for a parade. Grandpa's margin note stares up at me. Ask Nora. Not normal. I can hear him say it. Dry, unimpressed, too tired for nonsense. I photograph each entry, top down, same lighting, ruler and frame for scale. Examiner candy. Then I press examiner candy. Then I think it. Then I line. Then I mans. Then I mirrors that it him. I still log chores because my brain likes gold stars. The mismatches pile. Withdrawal hits the day before Pete's fishing trip that required a rental truck. Another sits right before Lorna's leadership retreat in the city that somehow needed cash tips for the team. Cute. I log back into Grandpa's bank portal. The joint account stares at me like a new door on an old house, wrong shape. Opened 3 months pre-funeral, secondary name, Lorna's Consulting LLC. Not her personal, not her married, not her maid, not her maid. Which, friendly reminder to anyone within earshot, is not a real trust. It's camouflage with lipstick. I download statements for the last 6 months. Each PDF lands with that soft computer thunk that sounds like guilt. I pull transaction details and map them. Cashier's checks to a P.O. box I recognize as Lorna's business drop. ATM withdrawals at 11:07 p.m., 1:43 a.m., 4:12 a.m. Grandpa went to bed 11 as bad as Grandpa went to bed at Habermist. Grandpa went to bed just quantum. Grandpa went to bed eyes and 9 a.m. He didn't do ATM raves. I click into the document vault. There it is, a scanned power of attorney labeled convenience, non-durable. Dated the same day Grandpa was at the hospital for imaging. I cross-checked the patient portal. Timestamps aligned to the minute. MRI tube. Beeping machines. Meanwhile, his hand apparently jogged over to the bank to sign forms. Sure. Maybe it took an Uber. I call Nora. Hypothetically, I say, if someone wanted to tag along on an elderly account, how would they sell it? She sighs. They say convenience signer to pay bills. Happens. But we require the account owner present, and we don't accept photocopied IDs. Also, if they push a POA, we verify with the lawyer. Which lawyer? I ask. Their listed counsel. Or we call the one on file if they're long-term. Dwyer's number is in Gerald's file, all theirs in Gerald's file. You found a POA, didn't you? It found me, I say. It also found the MRI. She swears softly, bring everything. Compliance is going to have a field day. I flag every transaction labeled BP Trust and sort by amount. They hover under $10,000 like birds afraid of windows. Structuring. Not always illegal alone, but paired with a shell LLC and a forged POA. That's a party. I make a chart because joy is real. Mid-click, my phone lights up with an unknown number. This is compliance, a woman says, crisp enough to slice bread. Nora forwarded your message and your court subpoena notice. Not wasting time, excellent. We're opening an internal case. Can you be here at 10? I have an examiner at 8:30 and a lawyer right after. I say, I can be there by 10:30 with documents. Bring the ledger pages, the PDF properties as... Bring the ledger pages, the PDF properties as... Bring the ledger pages, the PDF properties as... My ledger pages, the PDF properties... Her tone shifts half a notch. And do not speak to the branch manager before you speak to me. Let me guess, I say. He's friends with Kay Bell. Golf, she says. They play on Thursdays. I scribble golf Thursdays manager on my pad and underline it 3 times for emphasis and spite. I open the will PDF properties again. Creator, generic PDF suite. Producer, printer X420 series. The X420 is... The X420 is easy. They track serials tied to rewards accounts because of course they do. I feel a grin I don't try to hide. If I can match the yellow dot pattern, those microscopic printer freckles, to a serial tied to her purchase, I'm basically reading a diary entry she didn't mean to write. I pull on a hat because this is a farm and hats exist, and take the back way to Lorna's office shed. It's a shed the way a McMansion is a starter home. She calls it her workspace. I call it the place she keeps her receipts because she likes to gloat. Trash pickup is tomorrow. The bin sits by the fence, open because wind. I fish a pair of clean gloves from my pocket and go raccoon in pearls, just like I promised. Third layer down, a crumpled receipt ribbon. Office store logo. Items, printer, X420 toner, ream of premium legal paper, notary stamp kit, date 2 days before the Wowing stamp kit, date 2 days before the Wowing's Woofer stamp kit, date 2 days before the Wowing Stuber. I photographed the lot against today's paper with a timestamp, then bag the receipt in a zip bag because chain of custody isn't just for TV. There's also a sticky note with witness practice signatures, J. Smith, R. Lee, written in a hand that thinks being messy equals being untraceable. It's adorable. My phone buzzes. Maya again. Video this time. She's crying just enough to fog a mirror. "You're tearing this family apart," she says. "You think they did this family apart," she says. "You think they family apart," she says. "You think they family apart," she says. "You think they the Christy." I keep my voice flat. "He wanted his name to be his, not a permission slip for theft." She sniffles. "We're just trying to keep stability." "Then stop moving the floor," I say, and hang up before my sympathy overrides my spine. Back in the kitchen, I lay out the day like a crop plan. 8:30 examiner with signatures and the ledger scans. 9:30 Dwyer for the prior will and his notes. 9:30 bank compliance for the BP trust. Noon file for a temporary injunction to freeze transfers and demand preservation. Afternoon, maybe eat a sandwich and remember I have blood. Sugar. I print my 3 exhibits again, plus a new one. Exhibit D will PDF metadata and the printer X receipt. I attach the sticky note yellow dot test. The examiner will either kiss this paper or yell at it. Either way, I'll get a yes or no. A text pops from Dwyer, "Found voicemail from your grandfather. Pressure to sign, won't." I feel that drop in my stomach, the kind you get when the roller coaster tips. I forward it to myself, then to compliance with the subject line, context for urgency. I take one last pass through the ledger. There's a tiny arrow Grandpa drew next to a weird withdrawal, $3,333, memo BP Trust reimburse. He rarely used arrows. When he did, it meant, do not miss this. I won't. I flag it in red. Tires crunch outside. Pete. He stomps in like the house owes him rent. Heard of Renat. Heard a hode. Heard of. Heard you've been withdrawing, I say. He puffs. That's Rich from the pet. Stop calling me that, I say. Start calling a lawyer. He leans in. You think the bank cares about your little diagrams? I think the bank cares about their federal auditors, I say, and their anti-money laundering team, and their local teller who remembers your breath. He blinks. My breath? It smells like ATM receipts, I say. He gets it a beat late and stalks out, cursing at a chair that didn't do anything to him. I lock the ledger back in the safe, this time with Grandpa's pen on top like a compass. I talk to the room because it's the only thing listening. Numbers don't lie, I say, and today they're going to sing. I grab my folders, my calm, and the petty part of me that keeps score. Then I head for the door because the trail isn't cold anymore. It's warm enough for life. It's warm enough for Forgery. It's warm enough for there. It's warm enough for surrounds. It's warm enough for assembling the case, allies, and receipts. I hit the examiner at 8:30 sharp. He's got the energy of a librarian who moonlights as a chainsaw. He slides on magnifiers, studies Grandpa's deed signature and the will printout, and grunts like a mechanic hearing a bad engine. Loop height inconsistent, hesitation tremor instead of physiological tremor, toner edge feathering. I'll formalize. He taps the birthday cards. Natural variation, consistent slant. I ask about the printer dots. He nods. We'll capture and compare. If your receipt ties to that series, we've got provenance. He signs a quick intake, stamps the chain of custody. 2 days for a preliminary letter. I need it in 1, I say. He shrugs. Then you'll get it tonight. By 9:30, I'm back in Dwyer's office. He's already drafted the injunction. We're asking the court to freeze asset transfers and preserve all records, he says, pushing a pen at me. I sign the affidavit, straight-backed. He adds my exhibits to the packet, signature comps, ledger snapshots, full metadata, and the sticky yellow dot test. Note the examiner loved. We'll attach a sworn statement from anyone who saw odd activity, he says. Who do you have? Nora for late-hour visits and form pushing. Louis Fear, Nora for late-hour visits and form pushing. Louis Fee, good witnesses. No flair, all facts. I step outside to call Nora. She meets me in the diner parking lot, hair pinned like she's ready to run a marathon through red tape. I hit record with consent on camera. Tell me about the nights, I say. She nods, eyes on the horizon. 2 evenings, lights off in the lobby, back door buzzer. Lorna with Belle. They asked for convenience signer forms. They pushed a POE packet. I said Gerald needs to be a packet. I said Gerald needs to be eerie. Eating. Needs to be eerie. Ear. I said Gerald needs to be eerie. They didn't. She signs her sworn statement with a pen that doesn't shake. I kept notes, she adds, handing over a small notebook. Dates, times, who wore what. I'm nosy. You're a historian, I say. We both smile like we mean it. Next, Luis meets me by the barn. He's sunburned honesty with grease under his nails. I swear him in with Dwyer's notary stamp. Tell the court what you saw, I say. Pete loaded the seed drill and welder Bui saw, I say. Pete loaded the seed drill and welder Muter, said Gerald promised him. Nobody else was there. I took a photo of the plate. He hands me the photo. I tuck it into Exhibit E, label conversion. He nods at the fields. The land don't like thieves. It sours. So do I say. Back in the kitchen, I build a timeline wall on butcher paper like a crime show with less smooth lighting. Left to right, Grandpa's voicemail date, MRI day, joint account opening, late hour bank visits, equipment top visits, equipment MRI day, equipment actual main, late hour bank visits, equipment take, thing. I add stickies, K-Bill access logs, printer X receipt, witness practice signatures, BP trust under threshold pattern. The lines cross at the same 3 names, so many times the paper looks like a spider had a breakdown. I pull up the will PDF again, run it through a dot matrix extractor the examiner recommended. The yellow constellation appears faintly on my screen. I layer it over sample patterns from the printer N 420 SEER. I layer it over sample patterns from the printer X420 SEER notes. It's a match in rhythm, if not in serial, same grid spacing, same corner offset. Not proof alone, but it smells like it. I text the overlay to the examiner. He replies, good. Bring original print if possible. I text back, working on it. Because petty moves win wars, I take a walk by Lorna's shed again. Her trash has new treats, an empty premium paper wrapper, a toner box with the cereal intact, and a return label to turn label to 2A. I am the world's politest raccoon. My phone pings. Cousin Maya, again. Family first, she texts, and then a photo of me leaving the bank with a folder. I respond, please stop filming me. It's creepy. She replies, you'll thank me when you calm down. I archive it under evidence, pressure, then set a silence filter on her number before my brain springs a leak. Dwyer calls. Judge granted a temporary freeze. Preliminary hearing in 40 days. Preliminary hearing in 40 days. 40 euros. Preliminary hearing in 40 days. 40 stubben 40 vols. Monetary hearing in 40 wire calls. Judge granted. My shoulders drop an inch I didn't know they were holding. We'll need tied exhibits and 2 witnesses, he says. Nora and the examiner? Yes. Luis's statement as a supplement. He clears his throat. Also, Belle's counsel sent a cease and desist over your defamation. I laugh out loud. Bless their hearts. Frame your statements as opinion tied to facts, he says. Which you already do. Numbers with attitude, I read. Numbers with attitude, I warned you 9. Numbers with attitude, I warlies are holding. Numbers with attitude, Numbers with attitude, I Ralph grind. ID. Named numbers with attitude. I drive to the notary to get my statement stamped. The clerk looks bored until she reads the headings. People really try this? She asks. They do, I say. They also get caught. She stamps everything with the satisfaction of a person hitting a mosquito. On my way out, a text from an unknown number. You think you're clever. No signature. I label it threat 02 and forward it to Dwyer. He responds, log it. Do not. Engage. I send back a thumbs up, real this time. Afternoon slides in. I call the examiner for a status check. He answers mid-click. Pulled printer dots from your PDF, he says. Grid matches printer X420 family. If you get me a printed copy of the contested will, I can match serial microdots to the toner pattern on Lorna's receipt batch. Belle refused a hard copy, I say, but their filing should have a certified CAI. Fetch, he says. I hang up and fetch. At the clerk's window, I request an inspection of the filed will. The clerk, who has the moral energy of a librarian with a taser, slides it under a sheet protector. I study the page. The yellow dots are faint, but the pattern's there. I take permitted high-res photos under the clerk's supervision. Chain of custody never sleeps. Driving back, Pete's truck tailgates me for 3 miles, then swings alongside. Hey! Driving back, Pete's truck tailgates me for 3 miles, then swings alongside. Drop it, he yells over wind. You're gonna regret this. I keep my eyes forward. You already do, I say, and let him roar past like a toddler on a tricycle convinced he's a semi. At home, I compile the court packet light, Exhibit A, signature comp, B, POA versus MRI, C, BP trust withdrawals, D, printer metadata plus receipt, E, Luis's photo and statement, F, Nora's sworn statement. I write a simple court sworn statement. New will appears after tremor spike. Probate counsel has bank ties. Bank logs show access after termination. Funds routed to shell tied to air. Ask, preservation, discovery, and immediate freeze. No adjectives, just sharp nouns and short verbs. As the sun drops, I call Nora once more. You ready to testify if needed? I ask. She sighs. I retired last year. My pension doesn't explode if I tell the truth. They'll try to rattle you. My pension doesn't explode if I tell the truth. They'll try to rattle you. Honey, I raised 3 boys and a boxer, the dog, not the athlete. I don't rattle. I set 2 backup plans. 1, if the examiner's letter lags, Fisher's internal memo can carry the weight for the hearing. 2, if Belle plays sympathy with the judge, Dwyer leads with the voicemail. People can spin a signature. They can't spin a dead man saying no. Night again. I tape the last sticky on the timeline, hearing negatus 2. Under it, I write the plan in fact, keep receipts. Then I switch off the kitchen light and let the house hold the evidence like a mouth holds a secret before the shout. Pressure cooker, family warfare. Dinner at the farm used to be jokes and gravy. Tonight it's a hostage situation with meatloaf. Lorna sets plates like she's dealing cards she already stacked. Grandpa wanted stability, she says, slicing the word into neat pieces. I take the seat Grandpa liked, back to the wall, eyes on the dog, back to the wall, eyes on the dog to the wall, eyes on the dog to the wall, eyes on the dog to the wall, eyes on the dog. Forks pause. Pete reaches for the potatoes like carbs are cover. Maya pours iced tea like she's baptizing guilt. He wanted us to feel secure, Lorna insists. And you, well, you're better with numbers than people. Numbers don't lie, I say. People do. The old line warms my lungs. I can see Grandpa at the table, reading grain prices to me, pencil tapping. He'd say, trust the math. So I do. Lorna softens her voice. We're all gree. Lorna softens her voice. We're all gree. Lorna softens her voice. We're all gree. It's the time to diffuse them, I say, starting with a will that smells like the office supply aisle. Pete barks a laugh. You got cute lines. A judge won't care. He'll care about the POA dated during an MRI, I say, and the withdrawals labeled BP Trust that fed your weekends. Maya clears her throat. We just want to keep the farm stable. You're turning this into a circus. I'm turning it into a ledger with witnesses, I say. I'm turning it into a ledger with witnesses, I say. She blinks. You're being hostile. I'm being accurate. Lorna pushes her chair back. We can settle this like adults. I'll offer you cash to withdraw your challenges. Enough to be comfortable. Put it in writing, I say. She hesitates. Her smile cracks. No need to formalize between family. Then it isn't real, I say. Email me the terms, include the source of funds, and the disclosure that you used a shell LLC to siphon. See, Maya whispers, don't say siphon. I raise my glass. Siphon. Lorna leans in. You don't understand how fragile reputations are. A court fight will stain Grandpa's memory. Forging his name did that, I say. I'm bleaching the stain. Pete's phone lights. He reads, smirks, and pockets it. We're done being nice. If you keep this up, I'll fix the problem. He grinds the last two words like gravel. I hold out my hand. Repeat that end. 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 You think anyone cares? He cares, I say, and forward his text to Dwyer while making eye contact. Pete's bravado trips and faceplants. Maya tries tears. We were here more than you. We made the hard choices. Hiring caregivers was a hard choice? I ask. Because Grandpa paid their invoices, not you. I slide a folder across the table. Receipts. Dates. Checks. His signature. The real one. Maya's tears pause like they're buffering. The kitchen clock ticks loud enough to be rude. I drop the next truth gently so it lands heavy. The examiner's letter lands tonight. He'll call your will what it is. A rush job printed on a consumer machine, signed by a hand that wasn't Grandpa's. Lorna scoffs. Experts sue, signed by a hand that wasn't Grandpa's. Lorna scoffs. Experts sue, experts sue, experts sue, experts sue, experts sue. In court, they read baselines. Pete jabs a finger at me. You always act superior. I act prepared, I say. There's a difference. He huffs. You're just mad Grandpa didn't trust you with the farm. He trusted me with the numbers, I say. That's why I'm here. Lorna switches tactics. You could have a role, she says. We manage the property. You run the books. Salary, benefits, stability. She loves that word like it. Stability. She loves that word like it. You mean I clean up your mess while you take the title? She shrugs. Everyone wins. Criminal charges lose, I say, and I'm not here to be your compliance department. Silence stretches. Outside, a cicada screams like a smoke alarm. I push back my chair. This is my last ask. Stop. Withdraw your probate filing. Return what you took. We can talk about not dragging your names through court filings forever. Lorna smiles like a shark under. Lorna smiles like a shark under Lorna smiles like a shark under. Lorna smile. No, Pete grins like he just flipped a quad bike. Make us. Maya folds her napkin, tiny and precise. You're hurting the family. No, I say, standing. I'm fixing the brake lines. I rinse my plate because my ancestors will haunt me if I don't, then head to the door. My phone buzzes. Examiner preliminary letter attached. Conclusion. Probable forgery, signature anomalous, printed output from consumer device consistent with printer X 420 family. I stop, turn, and read it aloud in a calm voice that hates them evenly. Pete swears. Lorna's mouth tightens. Maya whispers, "This is insane." Court's tomorrow, I say. 3 exhibits, 2 witnesses, simple narrative. Lorna Julius, her chin. We'll bury you in paperwork. Please do. I see. That night, the house hums like a wire. I sharpen the case to a sphere. Exhibit A, signature. Exhibit B, POA versus MRI. Exhibit C, BP trust pattern, witness list. Preservation order copy, Fisher's memo teaser. I run through the story until it clicks into 5 beats I can say in my sleep. He refused new signatures. A fake appeared. Money moved under thresholds. Old bank friend helped. We followed the dots. At midnight, north the dots. At midnight, north the dots. At midnight, north the sting. North thud. North slee. North a mate. North a tea. Her voice is tight and calm, the customer service tone you use right before you flip a table. Compliance opened an internal case, she says. Fisher said I could tell you. She pulled logs. There's access under Belle's old profile. Thank you, I say. You ready for court? She laughs, small. I wore worse shoes than a judge could ever imagine. I hang up and step onto the porch. The fields are black velvet, the kind Grandpa liked best. I stand in the dark until my eyes adjust to the fence line he taught me to check by starlight. The quiet settles in my chest like a weight and a promise. I whisper, numbers don't lie. The night doesn't argue. Morning tries to arrive, but the group chat beats it. Maya, let's pause hostilities, meet without lawyers. Lorna, family meeting at 9, show respect or don't come. Pete, bring the keys. I reply, see you at 9, keys stay with the court. At 9, keys stay with the court. At 9 Ulysses stay with the court. At 9 we's noon and tabing. Lorna opens with a sigh. We can't afford the scandal. Then you should have bought less toner, I say. She lifts a hand. We'll give you a payout. In writing? I ask. From which account? She hesitates. Pete growls. Stop asking questions. That's my favorite hobby, I say. Maya nudges a tissue box toward me like peace. Isn't there a world where we don't destroy each other? Yes, I say. It's the world where you didn't forge Grandpa. Yes, I say. It's the world where you didn't forge Grandpa. I look at them, really look. The control, the appetite, the spin. Then I set the final boundary before court. You are barred from the property until the judge says otherwise, I say. Restitution plan is in the packet. You'll get a copy through counsel. If you step on this porch again without permission, you step into trespass. Pete takes a step forward. I meet him with the same uninteresting stare I use to make spreadsheets behave. He stops. Guff. Guffs. Guh. Guffs. Guh. Guffs. Guh. Guh. Lorna adjusts her cardigan like armor. You'll regret this, she says. Maybe, I say, but I'll do it with clean hands. I walk the fence line once more before I leave, boots brushing grass, the field humming low like an engine idling. Grandpa liked it quiet like this. He'd tell me to keep it honest. So I do. One last thing to set right before the hearing, tell the truth louder than their noise. Preliminary hearing, cracks in the facade. Courtroom, courtroom, courtroom. Dwyer adjusts his tie like it insulted him and whispers, "Keep it boring." I nod. Boring is my superpower. Across the aisle, Belle sits with my family like a chaperone for bad decisions. Lorna's jaw is locked. Pete looks like he slept in a truck. Maya is practicing concerned eyebrows in the window's reflection. The judge enters, robe swish, eyes clear. We stand, sit, and then Dwyer nudges me. "Your statement." I rise and keep my voice level. "Your Honor, there is a substantial risk this purported will is forged. There are financial conflicts and a bank trail that needs preserving. We're asking for a preservation order and targeted discovery, signature analysis, bank access logs, and printer metadata." I lay down Exhibit A, signature comparisons. On the left, Grandpa's known signatures, deed, tax receipts, birthday card. On the right, the will. I point once. Loop height on the G is timid in the will, confident in the authentic samples. Downstroke pressure is flat in the will, heavy and authentic, his habit. The 7 in the will date is uncrossed. He crossed every 7 since 1978. The will date also follows a documented tremor spike. I don't add adjectives. I let the pen strokes do the shouting. Belle rises, smooth. "Physiological changes can alter signatures," she says. "Natural very, 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 very varied. Natural very, 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 very. Natural very, very, natural very, very, studying Charles. Natural varying Gs can alter signatures," she says. "Natural very side can 1,000 scientists. My expert will testify." The judge looks at me. I nod. Variation happens, yes, but habits persist. The crossing of 7s is not a tremor issue. It's a lifelong correction. The judge scribbles. Exhibit B, power of attorney versus MRI. I slide the timeline. The POA bears a signature timestamped during an MRI. Here's the hospital log. Same hour, same minute. He wasn't available to sign. If he did it through a solid wall and a ledand MRI. If he did it through a solid wall and a dura and a grek. With thurbe, he did it through a solid wall and a v and a wall and... A small chuckle ripples. The judge silences it with a look. Belle says, "Hospitals can be mistaken." I say, "Then we preserve their logs and ask them." The judge nods again. Exhibit C bank statements showing structured withdrawals to BP Trust. I point to the rhythm. $9,900, $7,800, $4,950, always below reporting thresholds. Late night ATM pulls that don't make theory. Pulls that don't make theory. Pulls that don't make weary. Late night ATM pulls that don't make the theory. Don't make jury. Burials that don't make the mainery. Those that don't make ATM pulls that don't make 3P. Transfers into a shell LLC tied to an heir. I stop there because the room already understands greed. Belle stands straighter. Conspiracy theories are not evidence. My clients only sought stability. The word stability lands like a brick. The judge turns to her. "Counsel, your prior employment?" Belle blinks. "Prior?" "At the bank named in these statements," the judge says. "Were you employed in compliance?" She pauses too long. "Yes, briefly." The judge's puts briefly. The judge's puts pud. The judge's puts briefly. The judge's pud. The judge's pud. The judge's pud devoid. "And did you interact with the decedent's accounts?" Belle smiles thinly. "I don't recall specifics." Dwyer clears his throat. "We have an internal memo and subpoenaed logs indicating access from a profile matching her credentials after her termination." He doesn't look at her when he says it. That's worse. The judge shifts to me. "Witnesses?" "Nora, retired teller." She steps up, steady. She recounts late-hour visits, Lorna and Belle requesting convenience signer forms and pushing a POA. She refused without Gerald present. Her notes list dates, times, and who or what. The judge asks why she kept notes. Nora answers, habit and a bad memory for liars. The judge almost smiles. Belle tries to shake her. "You dislike my client?" Nora blinks. "I dislike forms at closing time." Belle pivots. "Did you see the decedent sign anything?" Belle pivots. Did you see the decedent sign anything? Bell pivots. Did you see the decedent sign anything? Bell pivots. Did you see the decedent sign anything? Then you cannot attest to, Nora cuts in gently. I can attest to who asked for the forms and when. The judge writes faster. Dwyer keeps it clean. We're not asking the court to declare the will invalid today. We're asking to preserve evidence and slow a suspicious transfer long enough to test it. He slides the preservation order we proposed. Subpoenas to the bank for access logs, security footage corresponding to the POA date, and printer metad day, and printer metad do POA date, and printer metad date, and printer metad. Pete shifts loud enough to file a complaint. The judge looks up. Mr. Cross, is there something you wish to say? Pete swallows. No, Your Honor. Good choice. Bell tries one more angle. This is family grief, weaponized by spreadsheets. My clients were caregivers. Lorna places a trembling hand over her heart on cue. I pull a folder without flourish. Caregiver invoices paid by Gerald. Cross-reference checks. His name, his account. The judge accepts the copies. His name, his account. The judge accepts the copies. The judge accepts the copies. Bell's mouth presses into a line so thin it might vanish. The judge leans back. Here's what we're doing. He takes off points like fence posts. 1. Estate transfers are frozen pending review. 2. All involved institutions will preserve records, including branch footage on the date of the POA. 3. The bank will produce credential access logs for the 6 months surrounding the flagged events. 4. The filed will's printer metadata will be examined on. 5. Parties will refrain from dissipating or moving property. He flicks his gaze at Pete. That includes equipment. Bell shifts gears. Your Honor, a public preservation order will cause reputational harm. The judge doesn't blink. The harm at issue is to the decedent's intent. I will prioritize that. Lorna tries a soft voice. We only want what he wanted. I meet the judge's eyes. He told his lawyer he wouldn't sign anything new. We submitted the voicemail. The judge nods. I've heard it. Bell objects to the voicemail. Hearsay. Dwyer, calm, present sense impression, and statement of intent. It's admissible at this stage for limited. The judge overrules. Bell swallows her next sentence. The judge signs the order. The clerk stamps. That thunk echoes like a gavel had a cousin. I exhale for the first time in an hour. Dwyer squeezes my elbow. Good. Now we enforce it. Bell packs quickly, whispering to Lorna, who nods like a bobblehead with a grudge. Pete mutters something about overreach. Maya dabs at eyes that aren't wet. We step into the hallway. Fisher is already there, crisp and composed, preservation order in hand like a hunting license. We'll need originals, she says. I nod. You'll have them. She adds, access logs show multiple overrides under an inactive profile matching Bell's old credentials. The judge just gave me permission to dig loud. She smiles without joy. I love loud. Lorna approaches. Her tone is sugar-free. This isn't necessary. We can still handle it privately. I say, you tried privately with a printer and a lie. We're done with private. Pete leans in. You're going to ruin us. I keep my voice flat. You did that. I'm just filing the paperwork. Bell steps closer. If you continue defaming me, I tilt my head. The judge just asked your employment history under oath. You stumbled. We'll let logs finish the dance. She goes pale around the edges. Back in the courtroom for signatures, the judge glances at me. You cut. I say, numbers don't lie. He says, they also don't care whose feelings get hurt. As we leave, Maya tries one last mercy pitch. Think about holidays. I say, I am. They'll be quieter. Outside, the air feels new. Dwyer hands me copies of the order and subpoenas. Straight to the bank, he says. I nod. Time for the reversal. Fisher's already dialing. I catch my reflection in the courthouse window and barely recognize the person who decided to stop staying the Kui. Grandpa would approve. Then I walk toward the bank like the bank reversal, taking the bank. Fisher meets me in the lobby before the ink on the order dries. She's carrying a binder like a weapon and a smile that means paperwork is about to become a verb. We step into the same glass room, but the air's different. Permission changes oxygen. She sets the order on the table. We're freezing the joint account and the Shell LLC now. I slide the ledger pages to her. They're ready to sing. She dials legal on speak. Counsel joins with a voice that sounds allergic to sunlight. Fisher summarizes court-ordered preservation, credential overrides tied to an inactive K-Bell profile, structured withdrawals to a shell linked to an heir, and a contested will likely printed on a consumer device. Counsel asks, risk posture? Fisher says, hi. He sighs. Proceed. She pulls the screen around so we can both see. First move, account freeze. She clicks. The BP Trust nickname for me. She clicks. The BP Trust nickname. Freeze. She clicks. The BP Trust nickname. Make. Freeze. She clicks. The BP Trust nickname. No 10 times. Sicht licks. The BP Trust nickname. Countlessly. Another click. The Shell LLC freezes. She types a text to security, whole branch footage on the POA date, backdoor, and lobby after hours entries. Then she flips to access logs. Here. K-Bell compliance shows post-termination activity. The login trail hops from the manager's workstation to a back-office machine after hours. My eyebrows lift. Shared passwords? Shared passwords? Fisher grimaces. An audit finding from last year that apparently learned nothing. Legal chimes back. We'll need to reverse the internal transfers contingent on documentary defects. Fisher says defect list is already 50 pages. Counsel coughs. Fine. Start reversals. The reversal screens look clinical. Fisher selects each transfer from the joint account into the shell, tags it improper, elder risk/unauthorized access, and routes it to restitution, estate pending. The numbers step back across the line like they're embarrassed. I keep my breathing even while my heart claps like a fool. She pauses at a cluster of ATM withdrawals. Those we can't claw back instantly, she says, but we'll flag and report under the SAR. I point at the timestamp, sir. Grandpa didn't leave the house in slippers for a midnight ATM date. Fisher nods. Pattern noted. Compliance door opens. 2 auditors slip in, all quiet shoes and sharp eyes. Fisher hands them the order. They start a checklist in stereo. Footage, teller overrides, access rights, cash drawer variances, notary logs. One auditor glances at me. You're the heir? I'm the spreadsheet goblin, I say. He almost smiles. Fisher opens a new tab. Print for Abe. Print for Abe. Print for A. Print for A. Print for A. We don't usually do yellow dot pulls in branch, she says. But with your receipt serial and the clerk photos, we can triangulate. She scans the file we'll copy under a high-res camera, enhances the margin, and overlays a dot grid template tied to the printer X420 family. The pattern syncs like it heard its favorite song. She writes a note, pattern matches series linked to purchase receipt and heirs evidence. I add, receipt shows premium legal paper and notary kit 2 days pre-date. She underlines it twice. Legal returns, voice thinner. If we reverse now and this goes public, we need a posture. Fisher says, try this. We found control failures, we're fixing them, and we're making the estate whole. Counsel doesn't argue. That's a first. A ping hits Fisher's screen. Security uploads footage. The clip shows the backdoor buzzer at 8:57 p.m. The clip shows the backdoor buzzer at 8:57 p.m. Loner. The clip shows the backdoor buzzer at 8:57 p.m. Morn. Restitution. Hours. Legal receipts. Creden. No this, Fisher lights off in the lobby. Manager opens the side office, glancing around like the room might tell on him. They sit. A packet moves across the desk. Fisher freezes the frame. Notary kit box on the credenza, same brand as the receipt. She looks at me. Your trash archaeology is paying rent. Another ping. It confirms the K-Bell compliance credentials were never decommissioned, masked under a generic profile used for training. Fisher mutters a word that rhymes with truck. She types a corrective action plan like she's carving a headstone. Deactivate orphaned accounts, enforce unique credentials, audit override reports weekly, mandatory retraining on elder risk, third-party review of compliance failures. She looks at me. You wanted policy changes? Here's your menu. I tap the list. Add independent callouts to listed counsel before accepting any POA on elderly Cly. She nods and adds it. I ask, when do we tell them? Fisher tilts her head. Who? I flick a glance at the ceiling camera. The ones who think they got away with it. She checks her watch. We can let the freeze speak first. Her phone rings. It's the manager, frantic. We've got a VIP customer whose card is being declined. Fisher says, which customer? He mumbles Lorna's LLC. Fisher's tone turns arctic. Read the banner on your screen. Court ordered freed, ordered freed. Court ordered free. Ordered free freed. Court ordered freed arties. Court ordered freed. He tries. She's upset. Fisher says she can be upset in the lobby like everyone else. As if summoned by humiliation, the glass door opens. Lorna storms in, Pete behind her like a storm front. She points at me. You did something. I give her my most boring face. The bank did something. Pete slaps the glass with his palm. My card's dead. Fisher taps the preservation order with one finger. The court turned off your siphon. You can file grievances in lowercase to the clerk. Lorna pivots to Fisher. We'll sue. Fisher's smile is a legal brief. For what? Fixing our own control failures? She turns to me. We're documenting the reversals now. You can watch if that helps your soul. It does. She clicks the final reversal. The joint account drops to its rightful balance. The Shell LLC registers pending negative adjustments. An auditor signs off each step with a digital pen that clicks like a metronome. Fisher swivels. Now, the SAR. She writes fast, description of activity, names, dates, amounts, structuring beyond thresholds, suspicious profile activity, potential forgery context, and associated shell. She pauses at narrative. Suggested remediation, policy overhaul, staff discipline up to termination, referral to regulators, and external counsel coordination. She submits. The system sends it to a place where acronyms sleep. It will wake them. Legal's voice returns. We'll need a formal offer to the estate. Fisher nods. Draft, return funds with interest, cover examiner fees, donate an equal amount to the volunteer fire fund per decedent's wishes. Decedent's wishes. Dustin's wishes. Donate an equal amount to the volunteer fire fund per decedent's wishes. Zundin. 6 turn days. Hard decedent's wishes. Council hums. That might keep torches at bay. I say, add staff training scholarships named for Gerald. Fisher looks at me. Done. Lorna presses the glass again. This is a witch hunt. Fisher flicks her gaze to the footage on the screen. Lorna and Belle sneaking through the back door, notary kit glinting. Witches don't bring notary kits, Fisher says. Thieves do. Pete leans close to the door. I know people. I lean closer. So does the SAR. He doesn't know what that. So does the SAR. He doesn't know what that Tharage. He doesn't know what that I. He doesn't know what that I. He backs off. My phone buzzes. Dwyer Bank agreed to restitution in principle. Will memorialize. Also, judge appreciates proactive fixes. I type back, Fisher's a machine. He replies, buy her coffee. Fisher gathers the binder. I'll walk this to legal and then to the board. PR will draft a statement for the court. No public press today. We're keeping it quiet while we fix, but the court will see everything. I nod. Quiet is fine. Loud comes late. Loud comes late, late. Loud comes late. Loud comes late. Loud comes late, will leak. Loud comes late. She pauses. You're oddly calm. I shrug. Numbers went home. Calm is my reward. She studies me for a second. You want a job consulting on fraud prevention? I smile thin. On my terms. She nods. We'll talk after the estate settles. As we stand, the manager hovers near the door again. Fisher holds up a hand. No. He melts away. I pocket the copies of the reversals and the freeze confirmations like souvenirs from a museum where the exhibits are hair. Exhibits are hair. Lorna watches me leave with hatred so pure it should be bottled for degreasing engines. Pete mutters about lawyers. I walk into the noon sun without looking back. On the sidewalk, Fisher catches up. One more thing, the dummy label BP Trust. We'll disable nicknames that mimic products. Small fix, big effect. I say, Gerald would call that cleaning the barn. She smiles, almost warm. Go take your farm back. I drive straight to the courthouse to file the BP. No card. I drive straight to the courthouse to file the BPing. I drive straight to the courthouse to file the BPB. The stamp hits, official as thunder. Then I turn toward the farm, the road, a ribbon I've known since I had to sit on a phone book to see over the dash. My phone vibrates. Maya, what did you do to the accounts? I type, returned them to the person who earned them. Her dots bubble, then stop. Gravel crunches under my tires as I pull in. The porch is empty. The fields are honest. I step out, hold the reversal confirmations up to the light, and Bryn aimed Brimu. The bank blinked first. Good. Now it's our turn to finish. Final showdown, public consequences. They show up early because guilt wakes before alarm clocks. Lorna stands on the porch like she owns sunrise, Pete lurks with hands jammed in pockets, and Maya holds a casserole like a personality test. I set the folder on the railing. We're doing this here, I say. No lawyers, just facts. Lorna nods, tight. Keep it civil. I smile. Keep it honest. Keep it civil. I smile. Keep it honest. Keep it honest. People. I smile. Keep it honest. I slide the freeze confirmations and reversal receipts across the rail. Fisher's notes sit on top like a label. Improper, elder risk / unauthorized access. The joint account is unfrozen for the estate, not for you. The Shell LLC is empty. Lorna doesn't touch the papers. Pete does, because he's a raccoon in human pants. His finger lands on the zeroed balance. You can't do that. I correct him. The bank did that. Under a court order. Maya's eyes shine with panic, pretending to be tears. Can we talk inside? We can talk here, where God and the wind can hear us. I hold up the footage printout, the back door at 8:57 p.m., notary kit box glinting. Lorna inhales through her teeth. That's out of context. The context is you using a banker's back door to stage a convenience. The ledger pages sit beneath, neat as crops. Grandpa's notes whisper from the margins. Grandpa's notes whisper from the margins. Grandpa's notes whisper from the margins. Nora, not normal. I tap the page. He knew something was off. He left me arrows. I followed them. Mr. Dwyer steps from the kitchen with the manila folder that matters. He doesn't do theatrics. He does truth in a baritone. Before we get lost in protest, he says, "You need to hear Gerald's valid will. Executed 2 years ago. No rushed amendments." He opens it and reads, "The farm to me. A donation to the volunteer fire fund." Then the note clipped in Grandpa's steady hand. "Keep it honest." He lets the silence land. It hits like a dropped anvil. Lorna rallies. "We took care of him." I tilt my head. "You hired caregivers." He paid them. I slide copies of invoices and checks. His signatures, crossed sevens marching like soldiers. Don't try and sell me your heart with his checkbook. Pete shifts his weight, voice low. "We gave time." I nod. "You gave time. You don't get the land for over vars. You don't get the land for over free." Maya whispers, "Maybe Grandpa wanted stability." I nod. He did. That's why he made a real will and told his lawyer he wasn't signing anything new. Dwyer adds the voicemail transcript. Grandpa's voice is thin but granite. They're pushing forms. I won't sign. Lorna flinches. Careful, she says. You're shaming your family in front of a neighbor's corn. I glance at the fields. The corn survived storms. It can handle the truth. I lay out the restitution plan, Lice. I lay out the restitution plan, Lice. I lay out the restitution plan, Liz. I lay out the restitution plan, Liz. Skin, Liz. 1. Every improper dollar returns to the estate. 2. Examiner fees and legal costs paid from the Shell LLC's account, what's left of it. 3. Unmatched donation to the Volunteer Fire Fund as per Grandpa's habit. 4. Policy changes at the bank already in motion. 5. You're barred from the property until the court says otherwise. Boundary, not a threat. Lorna's jaw clicks. You can't bar us from our family home. I read from the bar us from our family home. I read from the agree. You read from the only. I read from the or us from our family home. I read from the you read from the into. I can bar you from trespassing on an estate asset you tried to siphon. Pete tries for menace, the discount version. Let us make it right our way. I hold his gaze. Your way involved a printer, a backdoor, and a shell. We're done with your way. He steps like he might test me. I don't budge. He stops, remembers the SAR, remembers Fisher's voice, and stares at his boots like they're smarter than he is. Maya edges closer, palms up. Second chances, Zane. Maya edges closer, palms up. Second chances, Zane. Maya edges closer, palms up. Second chances, Zane. Where do you weigh? I breathe through the urge to hug and forget. You get consequences. That's different from second chances. Start with an apology and a signed restitution agreement. She swallows. She can say many things. She can't make her mouth form sorry. Dwyer clears his throat. The court will see cooperation as a kindness. It will also see defiance as a hobby. He offers pens. Lorna doesn't take one. She stares toward the orchard like a script might appear. When it doesn't, she reaches, but not for the pen. For a story. This land needs decisive management. You don't know the politics. I almost laugh. Lady, I know every fence staple. Politics are just fence staples with suits. Okay, she says. Cash then. You get a payout. You walk away. I ask again. In writing? From which account? Her mouth clamps. That's not how family handles things. Exactly, I say. Family handles things before they turn criminal, the BLC. Family handles things before they turn criminal, T4. Family handles things before they turn criminal. I slide a thinner sheet to Pete. It's the SAR cover. Names redacted except his, that's cleverly not. He goes quiet like a power line after a storm. Second chance, he whispers. The real kind. You give back what you took and stay off this porch. He nods once, grudging, eyes wet like he hates them for being eyes. The neighbors start to wander by because rural telegraphs beat Wi-Fi. They pretend they're out for walks. They pretend they don't see the Manila, those Ys. They pretend they don't see the Manila O for walks. They pretend they don't see the Manila O for walks. They don't see the Manila O for walks. Lorna stiffens under the gaze of a town that bakes you pies and remembers your sins. She signs the restitution agreement with a hand that writes too hard and an ego that writes too soft. Pete scrawls something that legally counts, but spiritually apologizes to no one. Maya signs last, eyes on mine, a plea in the whites that I file under not my job. Dwyer collects signatures like they're fragile eggs. Court will receive this in an hour, he says. He leaves or will receive this in an hour, he says. He leaves our pause. He leaves our pause. He leaves our pose. He leaves our pause. He leaves our resignities. He leaves our DA. For your records. Keep it honest. I tuck it flat in the folder, pulse steady for the first time in weeks. I step off the porch and walk the fence line while they hover in the yard, barred but unwilling to admit it to their bones. The wire sings a quiet, taut note under my palm. The field is the same coin flip green it's always been. Grandpa liked it quiet like this. You can hear birds thinking. You can hear yourself not apologizing for saving what me. The casserole sits where Maya left it, sweating under plastic. I carry it inside and set it beside the ledger. Above the desk, I've pinned the sentimental items line in a cheap frame because some jokes earn wall space. I open the safe, slide Grandpa's ledger in, and lay his old pen on top, stain and all, like a final period. One last thing. I pull out my phone and record a short clip for the judge's file. Status of reversals, restitution signed, property boundaries set. Then I record another for the bank's training session Fisher asked me to do. Lesson 1. If someone loves the word stability, check their printer. And for the family highlight reel, you wanted sentiment? I gave you evidence. You wanted the farm? You got a subpoena. The doorbell rings. Louise stands there. How to subpoena? The doorbell rings. Louise stands there. Hadi vi Abduri stands there. Hadi ade. Han he vilide. Hadi nale. Louise stands there. We had a. Heard the circus left town, he says. Mostly, I say. He nods toward the fields. You want to walk it? I already did. Walk it again, he says. So we do. 2 dots on a map that didn't change, even when the names tried to. When we reach the far post, I stop and look back at the house. The porch is plain. The roof needs the repair it never got. The windows reflect sky. The farm stayed in the family, just not the part that tried to steal it. I say in the family, just not the part that tried to steal it. I say it, I say it, I say it, I say it, I steal it. I say denouement, rebuilding the farm and reputation. I hire Louise full-time and hand him a clean contract that doesn't try to trick anyone. He reads it, nods once, and shows up the next morning at 5 with a thermos and a grin like rain. I set aside a scholarship in Grandpa's name for Nora's daughter. First-gen college, business, or ag, your pick. Nora cries exactly 1 tear and threatens to make me a pie I can't refuse. I accept my fate. The boo, the becrillings my fate. The boos, went were reuse. Inyo, boo, reviews me wait. The boo, will be doomed to fold the. No shoeboxes, no mystery envelopes. I post a sign above the desk. No cash, no shortcuts. People see it and laugh. Then they stop laughing because the rules help them too. Vendors start sending clean invoices. I start paying on time like a metronome. It's not sexy, but it's stable the honest way. I frame this sentimental items line and hang it over the computer. When bills stack high, I look up and let it roast me into good behavior. Nay. I take both, smile small, and keep the details off the porch. The farm stops being a stage and goes back to being soil. I stop apologizing for being the numbers person. At church potlucks, when someone says I'm intense, I say thanks. It saved the farm. They blink, then nod, then ask me to look at their uncle's sketchy trust. I say bring cookies in a folder. Fisher calls with a question, then 3, then an offer. Consult on fraud prevention. Rouse on fraud prevention. Rouse Stewart. Fraud prevention. Rouse prevention. Rouse. Consult on fraud prevention. Rouse. Fraud prevention. Rouse Stewart. I say yes with boundaries. I'll help, but my mornings belong to fence lines and irrigation schedules. She laughs and sends a contract that respects boots. At dusk, I walk the rows. The wind sounds like a page turning. I lock the office, kill the light, and leave one last note on the desk. Keep it honest. It feels like a promise instead of a chore. I lock Grandpa's ledger in the safe and lay his stained pen on top, steady as a fence post. The farm stayed bows a fence post. The farm stayed. You wanted sentiment? I gave you evidence. You wanted the farm? You got a subpoena. If you want the forged signature breakdown, the lawyer twist receipts, and exactly how the bank reversal worked, I'm posting those clips next. Subscribe so you don't miss the dot matrix trick. Share if your family loves paperwork surprises, and catch new stories every